This week, we head to Houston, Texas for a behind-the-scenes tour of NASA Johnson Space Center, have a cup of Mission Control coffee, and meet an astronaut.
So I'm Chris Edelin.
Joe, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, and welcome to the Johnson Space Center. This is the home of America's human spaceflight program. This is where the astronauts live and train. We plan the missions, and then when they fly, we watch over them here in the Mission Control Center, guiding their daily activities, planning what they're going to be doing, responding if there's any emergencies on board. And we have important elements supporting the commercial crew effort, which is basically a shuttle replacement, and we'll be flying those missions later this year and next year with people to the space station. So that's the mission of the Johnson Space Center, and we're going to go take a look in the Mission Control Center.
Very cool. I'm excited.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Now, Chris, you mentioned you're a flight director. What
Yes.
does that mean?
So flight director is the leader of the team in mission control. So I'm responsible for the safety of the crew on board the space station, as well as the safety of the hardware itself. And I work with a really dedicated team of flight controllers, engineers that basically oversee all the systems on board the space station and oversee the activities of the crew. Let's walk down here real quick, and let me show you the assembly sequence of the space station, because all these pictures down the hall show a different assembly mission that the space shuttles flew between 1998 and 2011. And then, so this picture was taken in 2011, the last mission, and then here's the final shuttle mission, which Atlantis, when it left the space station in 2011, provided the final set of supplies. And since then, the role of supplying the space station has been taken over by our commercial partners. So, for example, SpaceX provides resupply capability in an uncrewed Dragon spacecraft. Other companies also do that. The Russians do that. And we're looking forward to, again, next year flying Americans on American spacecraft up to the space station, because currently they fly up with the Russians on their Soyuz spacecraft.
So I was just saying, after looking at all the photos, they said this is about the size of the space station. It's about the size of what, a 5-bedroom house?
It just has the volume of a 747, the interior volume.
Being in a van or living in a van, the space station sounds roomy.
But so this is the flight control room where the International Space Station is controlled from. Yeah, that's right. So it's normally not empty, but like I say, they're on break. This is where the team sits. There are specialists sitting at each console in charge of a particular system. The life support system's right here. She's in charge of the timelining, planning all the activities. Over on the other side, the attitude, control, determination, power, communication, and avionics. So we divide up the team. It's classic engineering approach. Which divide up a problem into bite-sized chunks. Specialists that feed the recommendations to the flight director. Flight director makes the decision about what we're going to do and then communicates that to the Capcom. Capcom is a capsule communicator that talks to the crew. Now, it's a big job just running the space station, but the space station is an international effort, so this team is actually in contact with control centers around the world managing the international modules. For example, with the push of a button, as a flight director, I can talk to the Russian flight director in Moscow. We have interpreters on our voice loops. I can talk with the control center in Tsukuba, Japan, that's in charge of their module, the Japanese module, as well as Munich, Germany, with the team in charge of the Columbus module on the space station. Those are live views. You can see Ricky Arnold and Drew Feustel are in the airlock of the space station on that view there. You can see they're floating there. They're getting ready for a spacewalk tomorrow. So they are checking their equipment, they're checking their suits. There's already been a lot of lead up to the spacewalk activities since they arrived on the space station last Friday. So they've been working pretty much full-time getting ready for the spacewalk. But it's very important to make sure that they have the right tools lined up, that they understand the procedures, that they're ready with the choreography, with not only with each other, but with the crew member on board the space station that's going to help them suit up and get the airlock down to vacuum. So here is the MCC, the Mission Control Coffee Bar. So this is probably coffee that you'll not consider to be gourmet, but please help yourself, have a glass, and see how you like it.
Mission Control coffee, you have to have a cup.
Now you have Folgers in your cup.
Cheers. Hey, I'll drink it.
It tastes better because we're at NASA.
Of course. And you don't get Mission Control coffee every day.
No, you
Well,
don't.
some people do.
This is the room from which most of the Apollo flights were controlled from. You can see the patches on the far wall here. So starting with Apollo 7 and 8. So those would have been the first crewed Apollo missions. Apollo 8 was the first one to actually go around the moon. And there's with the Eagle, there's Apollo 11. So the first lunar landing was controlled and operated from this room. So when those words, Houston, the Eagle has landed, this is who they were talking to right here. So it's a very historic room. All the Apollo missions, all the way up through Apollo 17 were flown here. Again, Apollo 13. And in fact, these were the people. This is where they were working when the team, responded to the emergency on board Apollo 13, the oxygen tank explosion and leak. This is the space station mock-up. So this right here, we're looking at the European module, the Columbus module, the US Harmony module, which is otherwise known as Node 2 for us at NASA. And then the Japanese modules over there with the attic up top, which is their logistic module for storing supplies. So this is the very front end of the International Space Station. Hi guys, this is the Japanese experiment module at the gym. This is part of the space station built in Japan, of course, and controlled by the Japanese. Working closely with us, there's a lot of US experiments in this module as well. But it's primarily a science module. You can see this is a glove box. It's sort of a low fidelity mock-up of a glove box, but typically you'd have a place where you could do experiments in an enclosed area where the things that you don't want to escape into the air don't escape. There's also an airlock here that you can send experiments to the outside of the space station. There's windows here. There's a robotic workstation to control the Japanese robotic arm. And this gives you an idea of the size of the space station. You can see, since you're in zero gravity in space or in microgravity, you can use the ceiling as well as the floor. So all four walls are used for either systems racks, experiments, or supplies.
I'm ready. Climb into the shuttle. Don't flash the folks at home.
Well, ooh, it's like a slide.
And watch your head.
Wow.
This is the escape pole. So if you ever had to bail out of a shuttle while, let's say, you're gliding to a landing, you're not going to make the landing site, they would basically extend this pole. They'd fire the hatch open, extend the pole, hook up to the pole, and then jump out the hatch. And this pole, when it's extended down, would prevent you from hitting the leading edge of the wing as you drop out. And then you'd have your parachute, and you'd parachute down. So this is a pretty last resort way to bail out of a shuttle. So we just go up, and you just grab those couple hand holds on the way up, right? There's one here on the floor, and I'll help you with that. Wow.
Don't break anything.
You're right. You can't afford it.
Yeah.
How does it compare to your RV cockpit? A few more switches, right?
A lot less intuitive. No, this is, yeah, I mean, what I always found amazing about any cockpit is all the information here in the little window right in front of you.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is you guys probably have much more computing power in your RV than on the shuttle.
Yeah.
Even in your smartphone, right?
Yeah.
You're the Chewie to my Han.
I am. But to infinity and beyond.
Yeah, we don't say that. So this is a mock-up of the Boeing Starliner, the CST-100 Starliner. This is the commercial crew vehicle that I was telling you about, that I'm a part of. So Boeing is contracted with NASA to fly astronauts to the space station starting next year. They're going to fly an unmanned flight later this year dock to the space station. So right now they're doing habitability tests with the astronauts, testing things activities that the crew is going to do inside the capsule to make sure that we're comfortable and that all the procedures are good, that all the crew interfaces work, and that everything is safe, so that when it's done on orbit, it'll be done correctly. I guess let's give you an idea of what it looks like inside an Orion capsule. So this is part of NASA's exploration program for leaving low Earth orbit and going back to the moon and eventually to Mars. This would be the transportation vehicle to go from Earth to low Earth orbit, and then if you wanted to go further, you could attach this to some type of upper stage and module supplies and power, etc., and then you could fly this out to the moon. Obviously, this won't land on the moon, but it gives you the capability to leave low Earth orbit.
The main thing it has is a heat shield that, like, the further you go, the faster you come back. So you need a better heat shield to get back to Earth. This has the heat shield that would bring the astronauts back home.
Soyuz is a Russian spacecraft. This is, with the retirement of the shuttle, this is how the astronauts and the Russian cosmonauts get to and from the space station. They fly up on a rocket launched from Kazakhstan, which is near Russia, and it typically takes them a couple days to get to the space station, although they can get there as quick as just on one day. And so now you'll get to see what it looks like inside a Soyuz.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really
That's
small.
tiny.
So imagine three people fitting inside of there, and this descent module has flown in space before, by the way. But you better be real friendly if you're going to fly in the Soyuz. You better be really good friends. The part that's attached to the space station, you climb through here, and in here again is all your supplies that you carry up with you. When they launch, this is just chock full of experiments, extra supplies for the astronauts. And again, this can't hold all the supplies you would need for 6 months, but it's always chock full. But the hatch right there on the floor, you basically have a little pad through there. You climb down into it's called the descent module, and you'd strap into your seats, and away you go.
My name is Stan Love. I've got a PhD in astronomy, came from planetary science, and I've been an astronaut here at NASA for 20 years.
How many missions have you gone up on?
Just the one. So
one?
flew on the shuttle in 2008, went to the space station. It was a 2-week flight. We docked at the space station. We added the Columbus laboratory module, which you can't quite see over in the far end of the mock-up there, past the big sign that says Harmony.
Yeah.
The other side of that is Columbus. It's the best module on the space station. Totally unbiased opinion. Well, maybe a little bit. We had recruited a couple spacewalks, did a lot of robotic arm operations. We outfitted the inside of that new laboratory module with science instruments, and then we came on home.
What was it like when you first stepped out into space, when you did your spacewalk?
It's like, I really hope I don't screw up. That's the
Really?
normal astronaut prayer anytime, when they light the engines or when you go out for a spacewalk. It's like, wow, I really hope I don't mess up.
Now, Joe's a huge coffee fan.
Okay.
We want to know.
Yeah.
What is coffee like up in space?
I don't drink it.
You don't drink coffee?
No.
Oh no! But there
But
is coffee in space.
There is coffee in space. It is totally powdered. Although we did have an espresso machine on station for a few months when we had an Italian crew member up there. I don't know if it's still up there.
Did they bring it along with them?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah.
That was hilarious because Chris gave us basically a 3-hour tour, and then we offered to give him our van tour, and that lasted for 10 seconds.
I know. There's not much to see. It's kind of like popping your head into that little Soyuz, the Russian space capsule. You pop in, you look around, you're like, that's it.
This is the van.
And honestly, looking at the space station and being able to walk through some of those modules, it feels really roomy compared to this.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, we could drive the van into one of those. That's how much room there is. And it's really impressive to think about all of that stuff in space, how it's all working together, seeing the people on the ground actually talking to the people up there, and just watching all of that happen. Thank you, Chris, so much. That was unbelievable. And I think really a once-in-a-lifetime thing, so thank you.
A dream come true.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to ding the bell for notifications of new videos. If you want to check out the behind the scenes of this awesome tour at NASA, head on over to Patreon and become part of the WTR family. If you want to watch the camper van series from the beginning, click right up here, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.